Here are the best places to visit in Tuscany, Italy. Hi everyone, I am Noreen from Where to Now, and today we are taking a road trip.
That's right, we're leaving Florence and exploring the rest of Tuscany. But first, I want to answer a question I get asked a lot. And that is, do you need a car to explore Tuscany? The answer depends on how much time you spend in Tuscany. If you're only going for 4 days, I would pick a base like Florence or Siena and do some day trips from there with a guided tour. Now, renting a car will allow you to explore more remote areas if you have a week or two in Tuscany. Another question I got asked was, can I, as an American, drive in Tuscany? At the time of the recording of this video, yes, US citizens with a valid US driver's license can drive in Italy up to 12 months. An international driving permit is recommended but optional. However, I recommend getting an international driving permit if you want to drive all over Italy. It's so easy to get, and having it there with you will just give you peace of mind. If you're wondering how to get from Florence to the Tuscan countryside, you have several options. Obviously, you can rent a car. I'll leave a link in the description box below to where we get our car rentals from when we travel. Another alternative is taking the train from Florence to Siena, which at the time of the recording of this video will only cost you €6.80 for a one-way ticket. But if your time in Tuscany is limited, I recommend booking a guided tour. We only had 4 days in Tuscany, and that's what we did. You needed to book your tour ahead of time, and it's great because they pick you up from Florence and they take you to different towns and villages. Once there, you have free time to explore solo or do whatever you want, so you're only stuck with a group part of the time. In this blog, I'll review both tours we took, so if you're taking a tour, you know exactly which one to get. Our first tour was the Chianti Road wine tasting, which was 10 hours and 30 minutes, and the cost per person was $63.69. We got this tour for free by using our credit card points. If you want to learn how to travel for free using your credit card points, watch the video I'll link above after this one. The Chianti Road wine tasting made stops at Monteriggioni, Siena, and San Gimignano. Our second tour was the Val d'Orcia wine tasting, which was 11 hours, and the cost per person was $80.35. The price for both tours includes the ride, a tour guide on board explaining the history of where you're going to, and the wine tasting itself. The Val d'Orcia wine tasting tour made stops at Montalcino, Pienza, and Montepulciano. If you only have time to do one tour during your visit, I'll share my favorite at the end of the video. Actually, in the middle of my video. I'll tell you which one to get because I know sometimes the time is so limited and you want to cram in as much as you can. So I want this to be your guide to the best tour you can possibly get.
All the people have to park beside the fortress.
After about an hour's drive from Florence, we made it to Monteriggioni, our first stop in this 2-day Tuscan road trip. Monteriggioni is a hilltop town in Tuscany dating back to 1213. Being there was unbelievable and so cool. Monteriggioni is a medieval walled town and one of Italy's oldest and smallest villages. Only about 50 people live inside these walls. Can you imagine that? 50 people, that's it. I live in New York City and it's chaotic all the time, so I can't imagine that. In Monteriggioni, we had 1 hour of free time to roam around, and I couldn't stop taking pictures. I love traveling to places that take me back and transport me to another era, and Monteriggioni captured that medieval essence. Fast forward to today, and it all looks and feels the same, with the exception of roaming tourists, of course. But walking through the cobble streets, the narrowing alleyways, and being enclosed in fortified walls that were once used as protection from attacks from Florence to Siena, just being there made me fall in love even more with traveling. We stumbled upon a cute little wine shop, and of course we had to try the wine there. When in Italy, it doesn't matter, it was 10 a.m. but we did it. We tried 4 local wines going from white to red. With only a few minutes left before meeting our group, I tried to soak in the natural splendor of the Tuscan morning day. If you're craving breakfast in Monteriggioni, you have plenty of alfresco dining options with fantastic hilltop views. And after a 30-minute drive from Monteriggioni, we arrived in Siena. We stopped in Siena for 3 hours. For the first hour, we decided to join a city tour, which was included in our ticket price. This tour is optional, but we decided to do it anyway because we always love learning about the places we visit. On our city tour, we learned about the history of Siena and walked around, stopping at Duomo di Siena and Piazza del Campo. Siena is located right in the center of the Tuscan region, so if you're looking for a base to explore Tuscany from with medieval vibes, then Siena is perfect. If you're more of a city person, then Florence is ideal. I have a 24-hour city guide that I'll link above so you can check it out if you're visiting Florence. We are now heading to the main square in Siena. We'll come back to have lunch here after our tour is over. Piazza del Campo is the historic center of Siena, and it's also home to the Palio di Siena, a horse race held twice a year on July 2nd and the 16th of August. The first Palio was run on August 16, 1656 to celebrate the Virgin Mary. This race is still happening today. You can book your tickets to attend when you visit Siena. Here's a little warning. It gets pretty crowded during that time of the year. But what's unique about this parade is that the entire town participates, so it's easy to see and feel the spirit in the air. From competing neighborhoods waving their flags to communal lunches that turn into dinner and medieval parades, this is one of the most historic festivities in Tuscany. After our city tour, we had 2 free hours to explore Siena, so we decided to walk around and take the city in. We stumbled upon the Museum of Torture, and we were curious. After all, we were in a medieval town, so we decided to go in. The Museum of Torture houses devices that were used back in the day, and they look pretty scary and very illegal to use today. Look at this chair. It's called the diving chair. They used to tie people to this chair and submerge it underwater until they drowned and died. Yikes, that is crazy. I'm not gonna lie, this place was a bit creepy. It's dark, it smells musky, and feels damp, and you just keep going down and down tunnels, and at one point I was just expecting something to come out and get me. I swear to God, I was just like, oh my God, I was always in suspense. This coffin is another creepy one. If you're thinking, oh, they're just confined in there, nope, there are spikes inside. Another one. Look at her face. Do you know why? Because she is sitting on this. This one is a bit more tame. It's a giant bird-like cage and you're sitting inside. Sure, you're still a prisoner, but at least you don't have spikes coming up your... And then the chastity belt. That one stayed with me for a while. I couldn't imagine having one of those things on. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, let's read the description together. The widespread use of chastity belts was not sufficient to ensure the fidelity of wives during the long absences of their husbands. Not sure how they could take this off, but good for them. And also, the medieval era, if I'm not mistaken, was from the year 500 to the 1500s. The first telegram used was on May 24th, 1844. I actually Googled this because I was like, when was the first telegram invented? So it was May 24th, 1844. So if your husband was gone for years at a time, you had no idea if he was killed in battle or still alive. I mean, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just saying that there was no communication. Okay, I'll let you read the rest. Pause this video if you want to keep on reading. After some morbid exploration, it was time for lunch. We were in the mood for local homemade paninis, so we visited Gino Cascio di Angelo. This shop is a must if you want to try the local street food in Florence. They have an extensive menu offering really delicious on-the-go paninis. What makes this shop so special is that all the sauces are handmade here and the meats and cheeses are fresh. This shop is a hidden gem. Only locals know about it since it's a bit off the square center and the locals actually eat here, which is always a good sign. Gino Casino di Angelo has affordable prices, excellent food, and local wine that will perfectly complement your panini. These are the two paninis we got. The menu here is extensive. It was a little bit overwhelming, I'm not going to lie. It's like 10 pages long, and I am not even exaggerating. We loved both our paninis and highly recommend them. After that, we decided to continue eating and stopped at Preto Prosciutteria. Preto Prosciutteria specializes in cured meats and cheeses, but we wanted to try the Tono del Chianti tartare, which is considered Chianti's tuna, and it's actually ham. Not tuna, but ham. The ham gets that consistency through their method of cooking, and guys, it looks and tastes exactly like tuna. Preto Prosciutteria's menu is in Italian only, but Google Translate works perfectly. That's what we used and how we discovered that fantastic dish. I highly recommend you to try this dish. It is light, savory, and refreshing. After some mind-blowing ham, we wanted to sit outside to enjoy our last hour in Siena. We decided our last foodie destination in Siena would be an alfresco sandwich at Teche Voi. What I like most about Teche Voi is its location. It's right on top of Piazza del Campo. They also have pretty yummy sandwiches and cater to a more touristy crowd. Nevertheless, if you get a table outside, you get to people watch while enjoying some food and local wine. Siena was epic, delicious, and fun. I can easily come back and spend another few days here photographing the city and eating through some of the best handcrafted Tuscan delicacies. After Siena, we went wine tasting along Chianti Road as part of our tour.
And I will be the one making you happy or at least tipsy for today. We will see. And we will start with a wine which is our Prosecco of Tuscany, but it's not a Prosecco, it is a Spumante, which is a different category of wine. It's made with 100% Vermentino and it's extremely dangerous because you can drink one, two, three bottles without feeling it, and last Salute.
What I like about this wine tasting is that the menu tells you in detail what you are tasting, in case you want to buy a few bottles to go after. I also really enjoyed the artwork in the winery and the bottles themselves. The shop is big and has a great selection of wines besides the ones we tried. Besides wine tasting, you can also do an oil and vinegar tasting, book a lunch or dinner with the tasting, take a cooking class, go horseback riding, tour the vineyard on a Jeep, and even enjoy a barbecue in the vineyard from May to October and with advance booking only. After about an hour drive, we arrived at San Gimignano. One of the most popular things to do in San Gimignano is climb Torre Grossa, one of the best known medieval towers of Tuscany, which was built in 1310. If you decided to climb up, you can get bird-eye city views. We had 1 hour of free time in San Gimignano, and I intended to fully take advantage of the fresh air, get lost through narrow alleys, and photograph this charming town. We also found prices in San Gimignano more affordable than other towns in Tuscany. San Gimignano is relatively small. You can walk the entire town in under 30 minutes. Beautiful Tuscan villages like this seem as if they were plucked right out of a fairy tale movie, with castles, medieval forts, and bell towers that make you feel small and invite you to slow down and take the moment in. If you're looking for a spot to eat in San Gimignano, we recommend stopping by La Vecchia Nicchia for lunch. And for dessert, head to Gelateria Dondoli, known for having the world's best gelato. You might even meet gelato master Sergio Dondoli himself while waiting in line.
Gelato!
We also want to take a picture.
Beg your pardon? Yes, for gelato. It's not free. Right? You have to pay. The line is long, but it's not free.
Gelateria Dondoni offers unique, inventive, and classic flavors. They've also won the Best Gelato in the World title for several years. There is gelato master Sergio Dondoli himself, and he is so funny. What a character! And on a sweet note, it is time to say goodbye to San Gimignano.
Huge green hills. Como pueden ver, estamos viendo el primer vistazo de la valle de Río Orcha. Y obviamente la característica principal son las colinas verdes. The Val d'Orcha is a huge valley south of Siena, that extends until the border with another region which is called the region Umbria region, where you find Assisi, where San Francis from Assisi was from.
It was raining on day 2 in Tuscany, and the nostalgic roads seem more lush and romantic than ever. Right now, I bet you're wondering, what is the best month to visit Tuscany? We spent the entire month of May in Italy, and it rained every day for the first 2 weeks. At times, it felt more like November than May. Now, this is rare. Usually May is the perfect month to visit Italy, but things are slightly shifting due to climate change. The best month to visit Tuscany are late May, September, and October, which is the shoulder season. You'll get good weather with less of a crowd and better prices. November is the rainiest month in Italy. July is the hottest, and January is the coldest month. Our first stop today is wine tasting. Despite liking both of our tours, we preferred day 2. The wineries we visited were more organized, and the views were a bit more epic since we drove to more remote towns. I'll link below a blog post with all the stops we made on our tour and with booking information to help you guide you when you're planning your trip. Set atop the lush hills of Montalcino, the birthplace of Brunello wine, you'll find Tenuta Poggio il Castellare, a family-run winery in the heart of Tuscany, boasting about 99 acres of land that includes 7 organic vineyards, 2 truffle fields, olive groves, and wild woods that are rich in medicinal herbs. Since 1489, Il Castellare has consistently produced high-quality, sophisticated, well-balanced wine with a vibrant style and elegance. We spent a lovely time here and highly recommend adding this vineyard to your wine tasting itinerary when visiting Tuscany. After wine tasting, we had 2 free hours to roam around Montalcino. We had lunch and more solo wine tasting at Grotta del Brunello. Grotta del Brunello is a shop wine tasting venue / restaurant that feels intimate and even romantic with its candlelit high-top tables, service, and medieval structure. I love visiting this restaurant. Prices are reasonable and you get to taste a wide selection of high-quality wines and delicious food. If you want to try a little bit of everything, I recommend getting the 4-course prefix menu, which has a great value of 30 euros, and that includes a 4-course and a glass of wine. After selecting your wine, you'll get a tag with the name and price of the bottle in case you want to purchase a bottle to take with you after. If you fall in love with the wine, you can buy it right there. I loved this little detail. I always knew what I was drinking, which was lovely. I kept saving the tags of all the wines I loved. You can also order a la carte if your time is limited. We got the cacio e pepe pasta and the parpadelli al cinghiale. On the way to Pienza, we stopped at the shooting location of the Gladiator movie, which is closed to the public, but you can take a peek from the gates. Pienza was the third stop on our second day tour. We found this town to be beyond words charming. The views you get from being so high up are just picture perfect. The landscape will have you staring out into the distance and getting lost in thought. We found Pienza to be one of the most romantic towns in Tuscany. In Pienza, we had 1 hour of free time, which honestly I did not find to be enough time. That was the only downside of taking a group tour because you're limited on time and they give you a set time, and if you're not there, they'll leave you, so you have to be there when they say. In Pienza, you can visit the Piccolo Mini Gardens and Palace, but since we had limited time, I only wanted to walk around, get lost, and take epic everyday pictures of this beautiful town. 4 streets are named after love in Pienza, making it the ideal shooting destination for the 1968 adaptation of the classic movie Romeo and Juliet. And it's easy to see why. As I walked around Pienza, I felt I was in a different era, an era of Renaissance, of love and beauty. If you're hungry, I recommend grabbing lunch at Sette di Vino. And if you want a little snack, my favorite place to try pecorino cheese is at La Vecchia Bottega. Do yourself a favor and get a cured meat and cheese platter. This is the prime location in Italy to do so. Pienza is the birthplace of pecorino cheese, and with a tasting, you get to try the same cheese at different aging stages. After visiting Pienza, I have a distinct appreciation for pecorino cheese. Also stop by the Crypt and Labyrinth of Pienza with more time, which houses remains of ancient medieval sculptures. Look at this house. Okay, I was obsessed when I looked inside the windows. And for those who want to get into character when visiting, there will be plenty of parking spots for your horses. Jokes aside, though, these ancient metal rings to tie your horses are all over town, and that was so cool. The little nerd in me was like, oh my god, this is from the medieval era. That is so cool, and I'm touching it. I want to return to Pienza next year and stay for a few days. Pienza is one of my favorite towns in Tuscany. There's so much to see and do, and it's also an excellent place to do absolutely nothing. Talk about epic. Okay, let's pause for a moment. Who can tell me where this fountain is from? Leave a comment below if you know what movie featured this fountain. The medieval hilltop town of Montepulciano is so authentic to its time that it has been featured in numerous films. Every alleyway, every door, and every structure boasts undeniable character. Montepulciano is another top town to visit in Tuscany. I am personally coming back next year for a week or two. As part of our tour, we had an incredible wine tasting experience. This was my favorite winery in Tuscany to visit, hands down. For our winery tour, we went underground where the wine is stored to learn more about winemaking. This was my favorite part of the tour. The barrels were gigantic. This is something cool that I learned. Did you see that glass bottle on top of the barrel? That is called a bunghole, which allows access to the wine inside while it ages for tasting to make sure it doesn't go bad, or for topping off and stirring. I had no idea, but it makes sense when you have a barrel that size.
5 million years ago, most of it was under the water, especially the coast. Now, Montepulciano is not really far. Allora, we're gonna have a quick look inside and then we're coming back here. Alright?
If we survive.
If we survive. Okay. Allora, on top of your head, these one are the shells. Look, big certification of shells. Also here, look. Where is? Here is this one. Please, you can start to go, just wait me in there.
So yeah, this was all underwater at some point in time. Crazy, huh? They also have a little shop where you can purchase all the wines you try. This winery is so cool, you guys. I highly recommend visiting. We took a few bottles with us. None of them made it home though. We drank them all while continuing our journey through Italy. If you want to do wine tasting without the tour, I recommend stopping by Sachs Wine Bar. Thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to support my channel. If this information is helpful, you can always buy a super thanks below. See ya next week from Cinque Terre. Till next time.